And welcome to our first ever PNAA hybrid Factory Friday on a Tuesday afternoon. We're pleased to have you here. Thursday. Yeah, Tuesday, Thursday. This has been a fun one for the books, but we've got a lot going on today. We're very pleased that you've joined us. This is going to be a very interesting conversation today with a lot of different speakers. I'd like to introduce Lynn Strickland, the Executive Director of AJAC, has been there 9 years now. Definitely the staple in the industry when it comes to apprenticeship programs. And many of you have gotten to know Erin Williams as well in business development. She's been with AJAC for about 4 years now. And some of you had a chance to hear Jim Lee speak a couple days ago at our technical conference. We have Jim Lee. His photo didn't make it up there for obvious reasons, but he's the general manager at Tool Gauge and has just an incredible wealth of information. So I wanted to welcome all of you. So we're going to start off learning a little bit about Tool Gauge. We're here at Tool Gauge in Tacoma, Washington. Tool Gauge is a Tier 1 aerospace manufacturer to Boeing. Jim, can you tell us a little bit about Tool Gauge? Where are we? What do you guys do? What do you manufacture? How many people do you have? Just some basic stats on the company.
We're an aerospace build-to-print manufacturer of thermoplastic and metal components. On the thermoplastic side, primarily for commercial aircraft, and then on the metal side, it's primarily for spares, the aftermarket spares, MRO metal machine parts. So those are the two key things we do. We have about 90 employees right now. We're looking for, I think we have currently 6 open requisitions for additional staff, and as we continue to climb out of the aerospace rate down that we're kind of going through now, we anticipate adding 10 to 20 more staff in the next 18 months or so, depending on rate recovery.
What are your company's needs, and maybe what do you see for all of aerospace manufacturing in the year to come? How much?
Yeah, the easy answer is all the above. And skilled employees are always better, and that's why we work with AJAC, because there's, the shortage of skilled machinists, for example. That's not a new problem. That was pre-COVID. That's gone back many, many years, and so that was one of the driving factors why we engaged with AJAC to begin with. We wanted to get kids that were interested in the skilled trades into the industry, have them get a chance to experience what it's like to machine parts, and then in some cases, do different things along with machining in terms of, tooling and things like that we need. We see workforce development is probably our single biggest challenge going forward. Is we've got to find, and it's a competitive market out there right now. Everybody knows what's going on in the employment market. There's a shortage of people with skills that we need, and we've got to figure out a way to develop them and then bring them in and then show them a career path once they're here.
So you've been working with the AJAC Apprentice program now for about a dozen years. How many different apprentices would you say you've had during that period?
I think it's around 12 is what we checked, and it looked like it was 12 total. Okay. Program participants.
Yeah, it's about one a year you're bringing someone
and I mean,
here.
we're at a high level now because there's 3 currently, and it would usually be 1 or 2 per year. Okay. And then some years maybe not, as many new ones coming in, but right now we've got 3 total, and I think that's pretty good. I'd like to double that, obviously.
Can you tell me a little bit about the experience level that you're looking for your employees? Obviously you can hire someone off the street that's got no experience, train them up the way that you want to. Why is it important to have workers that already have an established skill set and capabilities, and why is that needed in aerospace manufacturing?
Okay, well, that's a good question. The simple answer is that we can take a person in with no skills at all, but the jobs you'll be doing are basic assembly jobs or attending, presses and machines. But you can't do that with CNC equipment. You have to have some skills. You got to know how to operate the machine safely. They're highly complex, very expensive pieces of equipment. They do precision work, and so you have to have a pretty good understanding of even just how to open and close the door safely on these machines. Right. So that's why we rely on the apprenticeship programs like AJAC to bring in people that at least have been trained to a level where we can put them out on a machine. And then, I think it's a 4-year process to get through the program. So it's not like you can just learn the machine in a day or 2 and we can put you out there. We'd do that if it was that simple. But it takes years to learn how to to become really good at this. And there's an apprenticeship to a journeyman path that you have to follow. And so it's and they're precise parts that we make too. And, metal parts in particular, and some plastic, are flight critical. And when you're talking about flight critical parts, there's a whole dimension around how do you make it, and then there's a whole nother dimension around interpreting what you're reading on the blueprint. And so there's all kinds of skills that aren't just related directly to the machine, understanding tolerances and materials and things like that. And AJAC is, they help promote that and get us skilled workforce right out of the gate. So very beneficial to us and to the employees. Well, it is now time to hear from AJAC, and I'd like to introduce Lynn Strickland, who's the executive director. Is that correct? Do I have the title correct? Thank you.
Yeah. As far as I know.
For now.
For now.
Right.
So thank you, Jim, and thank you, Brian. Thank you, Tool Gauge and PNAA, for allowing us to be a part of this forum. Thank you for our staff that's here. Thank you for visitors and other PNAA members that are here to be able to talk about this. So I'm just going to run through just kind of like a 30,000 level, view of AJAC and what we do. So if we can go to the next slide. So AJAC is a 501c3 nonprofit. We were set up in 2009, and we were our task at the time was to address the concerns of industry that still exists today. So we're talking about a retiring workforce. We're talking about increased globalization, which means an increased demand for products. We're talking about advanced technologies that change so often that it is creating a skills gap. Some people call that an opportunity gap also. So really we were brought in to be able to create apprenticeship programs. So, and you will hear in the apprenticeship arena that, apprenticeship is the original 4-year degree. But that really was a workforce development method that was not really used specifically in the aerospace industry. So we were created to be able to have a little bit of a 21st century twist to that, in that we are an incumbent worker apprenticeship program, which means that in order to be able to enroll in our programs, you have to be working with one of our partnering employers across the state of Washington. So this really is our mission here, and I want to really highlight that it's industry driven. So our job is to be able to work with employers in the supply chain, and many of these employers are small to medium size. Jim alluded to they might have, 1 apprentice a year, maybe 2 apprentices a year. But we work with a consortium of employers to be able to gather all of that demand and to be able to provide the apprenticeship program in kind of like a cohort or a consortium type of way. So we have 3 main programs. Of course, our main program is registered apprenticeship. But we also have pre-apprenticeship and youth apprenticeship programs. And really what we want to do is to be able to provide people access to be able to get into those competitive wage careers and to pursue some lifelong learning. So being able to get the word out, as Jim alluded to, part of our challenge is to be able to convince young people of the awesome career pathways that have competitive wages in the aerospace industry. So we use those 3 core programs to be able to do that. And so generally when you talk about registered apprenticeship, to us there's 5 core components. Most of the time you'll hear that you have the classroom portion of the training, which is the related instruction. You get all of the theory in the classroom, which comprises about 7% of apprenticeship. 93% of apprenticeship happens on the job. So that includes employers assigning mentors, right? That includes the rotation around the shop so that these individuals are multi-skilled, that they're not an expert on just one machine, right? They're able to be rotated around. And so those are the 2 things that we tend to talk about, the 7% and the 93%. But with apprenticeship, everything starts with employer involvement, right? We have to have the employers at the table to be able to provide these offerings. And so the reward for skills gained is both on the apprentice side and the employer side. So as an apprentice is taking the theory and combining that with the structured on-the-job training that they're receiving, their skills tend to increase, and they tend to increase at a little bit of a faster rate. So as those skills increase, the employers have agreed to reward those apprentices for their skills at that level. But there's also a reward on the employer side because employers tend to see increased productivity, reduced waste. It lowers kind of their training and hiring costs sometimes. And across apprenticeship, there's about an 85% retention rate. You know, so we do have apprentices that may go to different shops, but the apprenticeship program, you know, the apprentices see that the employers is investing in them, and they tend to stay with the employer longer term. And so at the end, the employer has a multi-skilled person in their workplace, and the apprentice has a nationally recognized credential. Well, when AJAC was created in 2009, what we did see, or what was seen, was that some of the companies that were specific to aerospace, they had a really hard time. And so that gave us an opportunity to be able to kind of look at the whole landscape, like look at the whole workforce of Washington, because people that were being displaced, certain industries, we wanted them to be able to have the skills and training to go to another industry, right, and stay here in Washington State, so that as a whole, all of our industries have a really good workforce to be able to attract business and to keep business. So over the years, we've been very intentional in program design, and the occupations that we have cross multiple industries. So we are actually beyond aerospace. You know, we have people that saying, why are you at my door? You know, I don't do aerospace. Well, it's because our occupations cross multiple industries. So we are actually in 6 other industries or sub-industries beyond aerospace. And that is food and beverage, that's defense, that's space, that's medical equipment, automation, and we're also having conversations with employers that are interested in registered apprenticeship in wood and paper, transportation and logistics, and clean energy. So when you think about AJAC, even though it has the aerospace, and yes, we're talking about a name change, maybe eventually, we are really beyond aerospace.
Cool. So we heard about some of the different programs. Which programs have you participated in with AJAC, and how did you identify which candidates you wanted to bring on board, and what was your ROI?
Oh, boy. That's a tough question, because I wasn't here for the selection of all 3, but I do know that there were, and Lynn, you could probably tell me if I'm right on this, we participate in the program, and then they have a signing day, am I correct? Where we used to have, like, the program participants would pick the company that they wanted to work for, and they would have a big, maybe you could talk a little bit more about that.
That was our youth signing day. So when we started the youth apprenticeship program, you know, we would have a signing day, and we kind of made it like an NBA draft, right?
Right.
You know, so the students, we would work with them. Raquel would probably can talk about this whole process because she went through it. But, you know, we really wanted to be a celebration for them. And, you know, and the students would go around and they would interview, and, you know, it would be a combination of the employer picking them and them picking in the employer. And it was draft day, you know, and then they find out, you know, who they're working for, you know. So it was really cool. But, you know, in addition to the signing day, we have a huge graduation every year for people that complete the program. So it's also, like Jim was talking about, it's a celebration of, you know, of all of the work that they've done and all of the things that they learned. So, yeah, that is a part of it.
Yeah.
And your return on investment, has this been good for you guys?
Yeah, I think we don't actually run an ROI on, you know, it kind of makes, you know, it's kind of intuitive that you want to get employees in, and we'd like to keep people in that we skill up and we help train them. We kind of think that there's a collateral loyalty built into that, meaning that, you know, it's if you are a skilled machinist, you can go work almost anywhere in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know, there's dozens and dozens and dozens of machine shops, and of course there's our aerospace OEMs around the area as well. So we always like focus on keeping them in, getting them in the culture, giving them rewarding work, and then we hope that our culture is kind of like the linchpin. It's a place they want to stay and they can see growing here for many years. Yeah. And I will say, you know, having Travis here with his dad's been with us for 35 years now. Wow. So if we got 20 out of Travis, I'd take that.
Okay. Sounds like he's on his way already.
Yeah.
Great. So I think we'll turn it to some questions for some of the actual apprentices we have here in the audience today. So we have Raquel, we have Travis, and we've got Wesley. Thank you all for being here today. So Raquel, the first question for you is, what AJAC program did you enroll in, and what was your experience in the apprenticeship?
Thank you. Hello, I'm Raquel. So the program that I was enrolled in was the AJAC Youth Apprenticeship Program that I attended to from 2017 to 2019 during my time while attending at Stadium High School. So in that program, I went through a series of like interviews, and then eventually getting having an interview through Tool Gauge, and eventually getting hired. And I was an apprentice and a student for Ajax, so I was able to learn the basic fundamentals of machining and manufacturing. After my full time going in high school, and then going to that class, typically that was like 1 to 2 days a week, and then also going to working at Tool Gauge part-time as well. So from there, I started from knowing absolutely nothing,
Right.
and now to operating double turret CNC lathes, and
Right.
that's what I do now.
Did you find it helpful, because, obviously in the classroom you're studying books, you're probably using some simulation software. Did you find it helpful to then be able to, a couple days later, be able to actually go hands-on on a machine and test out some of the things you were learning?
Absolutely. So most of the learning that I have learned is mainly from the job, and only a portion of the learning comes from the classroom. The classroom is mostly like an introduction, but the actual learning process comes from the job, and that's through just trying, and a lot of it is trial and error.
Right. Yeah. Right. Cool. Awesome. So, what growth did you see, and how did it help you develop your career? What did you take away from the skills you developed?
Thank you. So the career path that I'm that I'm going through right now, while attending at Tacoma Community College, I'm going through the mechanical engineering career pathway, along with studying environmental science. So mechanical engineering and machining is based off of a lot of the mechanics that I learned from here. Like I said before, I started with absolutely knowing nothing. I remember someone asking me, "Do you know the X and Y and Z axes?" And I just looked at them.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Right.
And from there, it was a long process from going to manual mills to CNC mills. And then I was rotated to manual lathes, and then eventually I worked my way up to CNC lathes, and then double turret lathes, and then sometimes to horizontal milling, and that is through machining like very basic jumps for for Boeing, and so typically aerospace parts, to sometimes we work with aero precision with the gun parts, and that's what I'm doing right now, and sometimes fiberglass, which is like for Magnus Venus products, and that's I also work with as that. But all in all, a lot of it was just a variety of learning experience.
Right.
And it came down to figuring out, okay, what I'm gonna do. I had to write down the steps, the process of actually starting from here and doing a setup and then completing the part. And then also asking questions along the way too.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of learning, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it's a very slow process, and that's okay, because
Yeah.
you're not going to learn everything all in one day. And then even if you mastered your craft, you're still learning.
Yep.
That's the exciting part.
Yeah, and if you learn it all, there's going to be new technologies that come out. Like the guys in the back here, they deal in additive 3D printing manufacturing, which you can do in metal, So it doesn't matter how much you learn, there's always going to be new technology that you're going to get to continue to learn on. So
It's lifelong learning.
it is. Back to Lynn. Great. Cool. Well, thank you, Raquel. Appreciate it. And we're going to throttle up a bit here, as we've got a fair amount of content and a few minutes left. So I wanted to open it to Travis and Wesley. A couple of questions. How has the apprenticeship program allowed you to grow within your profession?
Want me to talk first? Yeah. Sure. Let's see. Well, I took a year of machining at a tech college in Montana, and I never knew that apprenticeship could even be. I didn't know it was an option. It was available to me, and they may not have even been available over there. So when I moved over here, there was just a lot of fear and uncertainty because I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be a machinist because that first year I took, I realized it's my art, really. I'm not an abstract kind of person. I like solid numbers. I like, hands-on things. So I was really unsure, how am I going to continue doing this? How am I going to continue to learn? I'm seeing jobs where, I may end up running the same part for years and not really learning anything. And I'm not, I'm not compatible with that. I need to keep learning. The lifelong learning thing is really important for me. And so really, this apprenticeship really changed my ideas on education, honestly, because you know, even with night classes at a college, it still feels like I'm working 2 jobs. So, you know, the pace that the apprenticeship has for me was really good to be able to just not feel like I'm working 2 jobs, you know, focus at work, but still be getting that information. And it was almost the next day after I'd take one of my classes, I would be able to take something from that class and apply it the next day, almost every single week. And, you know, unfortunately, I don't have a direct mentor in my department anymore, you know, due to the downturn. So I've had a huge opportunity to really flex my skills, and every week's been a new challenge. And these courses and what people have taught me have pretty much allowed me to just do things that I never thought that I would be capable of, or at least not for many years, like probably 3 or 4 years. So it's kind of slingshotted me ahead farther than I thought I would be. I'm really grateful for that opportunity. I'm grateful for the mentors I had here and still do, and the teachers, the course instructors. The fact that some of them are in manufacturing was really valuable to be able to pick their brains, and I just think this thing's great all around. And I tell all my friends I know, go to an apprenticeship, even if it's welding, even if it's you know, whatever. Great.
Cool.
It's been nice. It started out, graduated in 2014, came here just for a summer job until I went off to college, and I was at Wazoo for 3 semesters, and I learned that just that kind of university just was not my style, not my speed. And so then I came back to work here, and after about 2 years, they presented me with the opportunity to go to the apprenticeship, and I kind of mulled it over. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be here a lifetime or not, and then got into it. And it's been nice. Luckily, people that I work with, minimum they've been in my department is 20 years. So there's a lot of experience, a lot of brains to pick, and it's been nice to be able to go from just being a shop cleaner kind of guy and actually get on a manual mill, manual lathe, manual grinder, and expand my skills every day.
Right on. What would you say you're most proud of, you know, your biggest takeaway from the program, that biggest help or accomplishment?
Really, it's been with blueprint reading, because I wasn't doing much of that. It was just kind of written on paper, here, do this, and then anytime it would come to an actual blueprint, I wouldn't know what to do. So to actually be able to get an in-depth class and actual learning on that was actually nice. Cool.
Well, thank you, all 3 of you, for being here and sharing your experiences so these folks can kind of hear firsthand what it's like. So appreciate it very much. Lynn, do you have anything you'd like to add kind of as we start to wrap up here?
Let me not do that, because we'll be here for another 20 minutes.
Okay, all right.
But I mean, if you're interested in any of the information, you know, we have a website, www.ajactraining.org. You can contact me. You can contact Aaron. Again, Amy is here, new on board, to be able to give you some information. And so, yeah, just feel free to contact us. I know that there's we just kind of scratched the surface on a lot of this. We understand that different companies are different. There's a lot of flexibility within our programs, because we do understand that there's different companies that do different things, and so we also make sure that our programs are flexible for the most, you know, amount of employers, but also still getting deep so that they are getting good multi-skilled workers. So yeah, absolutely. Just contact us in any kind of way. And again, I'd like to thank Jim and Tool Gauge for being a partner for so long and hosting this event, PNAA, and also to the apprentices. You know, absolutely. I could sit and talk all day, but I'm telling you, I could sit and listen to their stories all day, and this is the reason why we do what we do. So thank you, guys.
That's great. So yeah, help get the word out there about AJAC, either in your company or if you know of other companies that are looking at developing their workforce here in the future. Make sure to point those folks to AJAC, to Aaron, Lynn, and the team here, and they'd be happy to tell you more about the program and how it can help your company and really tailor it to the specific needs that you have out there. And there you can see it once again, the website for AJAC and the email. Looks like they are on every social media platform that I can rattle off.
Thank you to her.
If I see those logos and I don't recognize them, I figure I'm not there yet. So, but I recognize all those. So yeah, feel free to connect there.